Christianity today is paganism, and Christians are pagans and not believers, according to Florida Imam Abu Usama At-Thahabi, who urged Muslims to reject Western cultural influences and warned them against wishing others a Merry Christmas or even Happy Holidays. In his Friday, December 20 sermon at the Masjid As-Sunnah Mosque, an Islamic center serving the Orlando, Florida area, the American-born, Abu Usama delivered a scathing critique of Christianity, declaring it polluted with pagan practices while urging Muslims to remain steadfast in their identity. The Christians today, the ones you know, those of us who are reverts tied to Islam. Our relatives, Christians, are pagans, he argued. It's not a nice word to be called a pagan. They think they're believers, but they're not believers. But they're not believers, pagans, he added. Proclaiming that Christianity today is a pagan religion, the Imam called out Christian traditions, which he argued bear absolutely no connection to Jesus. The Christians of that time borrowed this practice of Christmas from the Greek pagans and made it their religion, he stated, mocking the idea that Jesus was born on Christmas or is the Son of God. Abu Usama didn't hold back in addressing Muslims who adopt these traditions, condemning those who feel compelled to say Merry Christmas or participate in the celebrations. He warned against letting Muslim children watch movies when the theme has anything to do with Christmas, pointing to new films Sonic the Hedgehog and Mufasa, the Lion King as examples. As Muslims, how are we going to allow ourselves in any shape, form, or fashion to show any type of good pleasure or goodwill towards Christians when their holiday comes? He asked, insisting, don't even say to these people happy holidays. The response should best, I don't like this, I'm not going to smile and placate you in this. He added, warning that Christians becoming polytheists and pagans will happen to the Muslim community if it is going to follow the Jews and the Christians. He also called on his audience to make jihad in this religion, not to fall into practicing the religion in a way that what happened to those people. Abu Usama has a history of radical rhetoric he typically delivers in his sermons.
Our ummah owes a great debt of gratitude to. Most of us heard of him, Imam Ibn Kathir, Abu Fada. He wrote the tafsir. It's one of the best tafsirs in Islam. This book, no Muslim house should be without this book because it is just what the title implies, the stories of the prophets and the messengers. So how are we going to be connected to them if we don't know about them? So he brought their story together from the Quran and put it in this one book. It's been translated in English, Urdu. It's an important book to have. Allah said about the prophets, Salawatullahi wassalamu alayhim ajma'in, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ ما كان حديث يفترى ولكن تصديق الذي بين يديه وتفصيل كل شيء وهدى ورحمة لقوم يؤمنون. Tremendous book. In their stories of the Quran are lessons for the intelligent people. The Quran and their stories is not iftira, something that's just been made up, asatir, Al-Awwaleen, just tells of the ancients, and their stories are important for all of us. And when we look at the Book of Allah, from the 114 chapters of the Quran, 114, there are a number of them that have been given the title of prophets and messengers. Salawatullahi wassalamu alayhim ajma'in. And Allah in those chapters deals with those prophets in detail, their dawah, and their seerah, and the lessons that we have to learn from them. From those surahs, just Surah Yunus, Surah Hud, Surah Yusuf, Ibrahim, Muhammad, Noah, Salawatullahi wassalamu alayhim ajma'in. Those are chapters of the Quran with the detailed message of the prophets who were mentioned. Salawatullahi wassalamu alayhim ajma'in. There's another surah called Al-Anbiya, the surah of the prophets, where Allah talked about many of the prophets of Al-Islam, and what happened. So Ummah al-Islam, go back and read Surah Al-Anbiya after today's khutbah, and get the book, The Story of the Prophets by Imam Ibn Kathir. Ala kullin, in Surah Al-Anbiya is the story of Ibrahim. And what I want to share with you from the story of Ibrahim on this day is what his people said to him. قالوا أأنت فعلت هذه لآلهتنا يا إبراهيم؟ قال بل فعله كبيرهم هذا فاسألوهم إن كانوا ينطقون. فرجعوا إلى أنفسهم فقالوا إنكم أنتم الظالمون. And remember when Ibrahim's people said to Ibrahim, after Ibrahim broke up the idols that they were worshiping, the idols that they were making dua to, the idols who they thought were intercessors and intermediaries between Allah and them, instead of the person making dua straight to Allah Azza wa Jal, he wants to make dua to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who's in his grave. He wants to make dua to Ali or Hussein, Al-Abbas, Abdul Qadir al-Jailani. When Ibrahim was giving his father and their people dawah, they stuck to their adat, their culture. Like most people find it very difficult to separate themselves from the culture when the culture goes against the religion, even if the culture doesn't make any sense. Even if the culture is going to harm you, it's going to harm you. Giving a baby girl the female genital mutilation is harm on that girl. To take a razor and to cut off her genitalia, no one does that except someone who something is wrong with them. It's going to hurt your daughter when you do it. It's going to hurt her as she grows. It's going to hurt her just as her mother suffered. Later to do, she's going to suffer. But the people are going to do it anyway. Although that khitan is the sunnah of Fir'aun. It's not the sunnah of Musa. It's not the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. People are going to choose to follow their culture, even if the culture makes, you spend more money, lose money, you do something that is debased, the culture. Part of our culture as Muslims is we don't have dogs. We don't have dogs. I grew up loving dogs. I became a Muslim. I don't like dogs that much, as much. But if I saw a nice dog that looked like a wolf, I can appreciate that breed, the pedigree of that breed, Doberman pinches and other than that. I can appreciate it. But I'm the last person on the face of this earth who's going to walk behind a dog. And when that dog does his business, I'm going to pick up his business and carry it around until I discard it. That's ihana. That's below Bani Adam. Now, the Arabs here and the people who were born and raised Muslims, you understand what I'm talking about. That's not gharib, ajib on you. That's not our culture. And when you find a Muslim licking the dog and kissing the dog, taking his hand and feeding the dog, his children are kissing and licking the dog, every other Muslim is going to look and say, a'udhu billah, you've lost your mind. What's wrong with you? So even if the culture puts people down, they're going to do it. That's just how it is. So with Ibrahim, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, he broke up those idols and then he took a hammer, an axe, some ala, something, some utensil. He put it around the neck of the big idol, as you all know. The people heard Ibrahim was the one who did this. So they said to him, Ibrahim, did you do this to our idols? Ibrahim said, no. Instead, the big one did it. I don't like this kufr and this shirk. So because of this big one, the middle one, the little one, all these statues, they make me angry. They're the suburb that I broke it, but they did it. They're the reason that I did it, them. Ask them who did it. Ask them. He said the big one did it. Ask all of them if they can speak. So Ibrahim's people came to their senses and they realized these things can't speak. They said to Ibrahim, they came to themselves, they said amongst themselves, we are the ones who are wrong. We are wrong in what we're doing. And then Allah mentioned that Ibrahim said to them, do you worship that which doesn't benefit you? It doesn't benefit you, it can't hurt you. Why you worship? And they can't speak. They told each other, save your gods and burn Ibrahim. You save your God. This story from Ibrahim Ikhwani happened during the time of the companions. May Allah be pleased with them. Something similar to it. Those scholars of the Sirah, of the Tarikh and Al-Islam, Muhammad ibn Ishaq, Muhammad ibn Hisham, two of the greatest scholars of As-Sirah, even though they are weak in hadith, these two men. But when it comes to the Sir, they're from the ulama and the imma of the history of Islam. They brought the story of one of the people who accepted Islam. His name is Amr ibn al-Jumuh. May Allah be pleased with him. His story and the story of his two little children, Mu'idh and Mu'adh, and how they killed Abu Jahl is amazing. Go back and read the story of his kids. Compare our Shabab to these two little kids, and how they dealt with Abu Jahl. But anyway, this man was from Bani Salama, and he was responsible for one of the most important idols of Quraysh called Manat. It was his job to be the custodian of this big idol of theirs. His two sons became Muslims. Some of the Shabab from his community became Muslims, and the youngsters from his community started giving dawah to him and to the other people. They were not afraid to call the elders of the community to al-Islam. This particular man, Amr ibn al-Jumuh, he was very stubborn, he was full of pride, and he had ikhlas to this God of Quraysh and the ways of Quraysh. So he didn't listen to their dawah. They took that idol and they threw that idol in the latrine. The latrine was the place where Quraysh used to throw all of the dirt and the no good thing, the refuge, everything from their homes. That's where they used to leave their defecation and their urine, akramakum Allah. It was a dirty place. They threw it in there, upside down. When he found out what happened the next day, he went upset. That's sacrilegious. Who in his right mind would take a cross and throw it there? That's how the Christian thinks. Who in his right mind would take this idol, our God, and throw him there? He's a bad person. He took it out and cleaned it with his hands as a sign of ikhlas, with defecation on it, with urine on it, with all that other stuff, germs, all of that. But when Bani Adam makes shirk with Allah, he suspends his intellect and he allows himself to go down in many ways. Ash-shirku billah makes a person who goes down. He's muhan, he's down in many ways. A person who has Islam and Tawheed, even if he is poor, he has a level of izzah that he walks and his head is up and he doesn't bow for anyone and he's not afraid of anyone just because they have money, because they have a higher status. After that, a second time, after he cleaned it, he polished it, he perfumed it, they came again and they threw it in the latrine. He said, who did this? This sacrilegious. If I can find the person who did it, I'm going to deal with him. They did it a third time. After the third time, he put a sword on the neck of the idol. He said to the idol, if you can't defend yourself, I'm not taking you out of this latrine again. I'm not taking you out. The boys came again. They took his idol and they put a dead dog around the neck of the idol and took the sword and threw it in the latrine. Amr ibn al-Jumuh came, he saw it. He said, that's it. You can't defend yourself. How are you going to defend me? You can't hear my calls. Why should I make dua to you? I'm not going to worship you. And the ayah of the Quran that mentions وَمَنْ أَضَلُّ مِمَّنْ يَدْعُو مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ مَنْ لَا يَسْتَجِيبُ لَهُ وَلَا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَهُمْ عَنْ دُعَائِهِمْ غَافِلُونَ. Who is more astray? That's a question to everybody here. Who is more astray than the person who makes dua to someone or something, and that one they're making dua to will never answer his dua until Yawm al-Qiyamah? Never will it be answered. Not only will it not be answered, but concerning the dua, they can't even hear it. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the Sayyid of Bani Adam, and he is a tremendous human being. We try, struggle, we want to strive to be of those people who love him more than we love our own selves and our children, more than we love everything. And although that is the reality of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, anybody who makes dua to him, you have put yourself down. He does not deserve to be worshipped, because things used to happen to him where he himself could not prevent and push evil off of himself. He didn't have the ability to pull good to himself. If that's the case, that person, that creature, that creation, anything that can't help itself, can't help you, can't harm you, can't harm it, it shouldn't be worshiped. It shouldn't be worshiped at all. We worship Allah and Allah alone. So I'm here to say on this day, this Friday, before Christmas, after a few more days, the religion of Christianity as it is today is a pagan religion. It's a pagan religion, P-A-G-A-N. It's a religion of shirk and kufr, a religion of khurafat today. It was not like that when Isa ibn Maryam came. When he came, he gave dawah to Allah, a dawah to Tawheed, a dawah to his Sunnah, dawah to Yawm al-Qiyamah. He gave dawah to what was beneficial to the people. He helped the people, he raised the dead, he caused the deaf and the blind to see, bi-idhnillah. When he was here, he gave dawah to Islam. And when he comes back, he's going to give dawah to the truth. But the Christians today, the ones you know, those of us who are reverts, our relatives, Christians are pagans. Like Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl. They are pagans, like what happened during the time of Ibrahim. And although they're pagans, they're closer to us than the mushrikun, because they lay claim to Isa, and also because they have a book that was divinely revealed. But Allah allowed them to become pagans by the meaning of the word. Polytheists. It's not a nice word to be called a pagan. They think they're believers, but they're not believers. Pagans. And why do we say that? We say that because of one of the main things is this Christmas that's happening soon. Christmas, according to them, is the day of celebration to acknowledge the birth of Isa ibn Maryam, who is the son of Allah. The question is, for the sake of argument, if that is true, I don't like to say it, but for the sake of argument, we're going to celebrate the day that the son of Allah was born. A'udhu billah. For the sake of argument. Okay, no problem. What does Santa Claus have to do with that? What does the Christmas tree have to do with that? What does the little elves have to do with that? What does reindeers have to do with that? What does the mistletoe have to deal with that? What does the North Pole have to do with the birth of Isa ibn Maryam? Isa ibn Maryam was born in Asham, in Jerusalem, in Asham. Why in your mind, in your children's mind, you people are thinking about the North Pole? What is the connection? The connection is Ummatul Islam. There is absolutely no connection. But the Christians of that time, they borrowed this practice of Christmas from the Greek pagans, and they made it their religion. They made it their religion. So let the Muslim have no doubt whatsoever. Christians are not believers. Christians are pagans. They don't believe in Allah. Now I want to make it clear. We said for the sake of argument, let's just say he was born on that day. That's just for kalam's sake. He wasn't born on that day at all. And he's definitely not like the son of Allah. Now what I want to bring your attention to here today, inshallah, part of it is this. I talk and I talk and I talk and I make dua for my mother to come to the deen. I talk and I talk to my sisters, my aunties. I make efforts for them to come to the deen. But the way they are is they don't listen. They're going to do it their own way. And you can explain all of these realities to them. How the Bible has been tampered with. How there are books of the Bible that are not in the Bible that they hold. How the King James Bible came into existence. You can talk to them about all of these indiscretions, but they don't want to hear it. Like certain Muslims, you could talk until you're blue in the face about how that position in your religion, not doing roughly ordained, you could talk to him forever. He's not going to listen. You could talk to him about whatever it is, just not going to, that's how people are. But my question to you is this. As it relates to my mom Dukes and my relatives who want to practice Christmas no matter what, it's the culture. I don't want to deviate, but I have to mention this to you. African Americans, we suffer from slavery. And because slavery was very, very difficult, the slaves used to have al-amal and raja. They used to help us out of this situation because it was difficult. They believe to this day, my mother practices this, the culture to this day. If you eat a particular meal on the first day of January, you're going to have good fortune for the rest of the year. You catch the water, the first water of the year, you catch that water and you drink it amongst yourselves, you're going to have good fortune. I don't say luck because we don't believe in luck. And what does that meal consist of in the African American home? Christian. Everybody on the 1st of January is eating pig's feet, chitlins, cornbread, candy yams, collard greens. And when you eat that pig's feet, chitlin, the intestines of the pig, you believe you're going to get good luck that year. And your luck stays the same. Your situation is the same. And it's like that every year, but they do it anyway. And that's the evil of following the culture over the religion. When you follow the culture over the religion, you oppress people. Forcing your daughter to get married to your sister's son. We still do forced marriages in the UK. The FGM, what are you doing? In some African countries, Muslim countries, they put big cuts in their face to show what tribe they come from. That stuff hurts. That stuff is oppression. It's not our religion. The culture of the people is okay, as long as it doesn't go against the religion. Back to the point. As it relates in regards to my family members, I have to continue to make dua for them, continue to give them dua, continue to give them dawah. But my question now is, as Muslims, how are we going to allow ourselves in any shape, form, or fashion to show any type of good pleasure or goodwill towards Christians when their holiday comes? We have doctors in this audience. We have professionals in this audience. We have people who are mechanics, people who are plumbers, electricians. We have all kinds of people. We all work with non-Muslims. We deal with non-Muslims. This past week, many non-Muslims, upon separating from them, they're just being nice, the cashier, whoever, they'll say, Happy New Year's, Merry Christmas. I don't have to say back, and Merry Christmas to you. And I don't have to say that. As a doctor who's a professional, should I start going crazy and being disrespectful and lose my job? No. But what makes us feel like we're second-class citizens and we're afraid they said something to us and I have to respond back to what they said? I don't have to respond back as it relates to what they say. You can respond back to give them dawah. Well, I don't believe in Christmas. You start talking about it. You don't want to do that? Don't say anything. Don't say anything. But don't say to these people, happy holidays. Not to mention, accepting gifts, giving gifts is not our religion. Why? Listen to this. Listen. Those are non-Muslims. They're not going to listen. But a Muslim has to have a position. Allah mentioned in the Quran concerning the people saying he has a son. This is not a small thing. Allah has a son. تكاد السماوات يتفطرن منه وتنشق الأرض وتخر الجبال هدا أن دعوا للرحمن ولدا. the heavens, they're going to rip open when they hear people saying Allah has a son. The heavens don't like that statement. They want to rip open, but Allah doesn't allow them to do that. And the earth wants to split open and the people fall in, but Allah doesn't allow it to do that. And the mountains, they want to fall down in anger and displeasure at the fact that the people are saying that Allah has a son. And then the Muslim comes and says, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. The response of the Muslim should be like the response of these makhluqat. The response is al-inkar. The response is, I don't like this. The response is, I'm not going to smile and placate. I'm not going to placate you in this. I say to you, don't be disrespectful to people. I can't be disrespectful to my mother. I can't be disrespectful to non-Muslims. I go to Publix and the lady says, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I'm not going to be disrespectful to her. She's just a regular lady. But I don't have to say back anything, because when you say something back, your iman is not complete. You have iman that is naqis. من أحب لله وأبغض لله فقد استكمل إيمانه. Anybody who gets mad, angry for what Allah is angry with, and he's happy for what Allah is happy with, then his iman is complete. And Allah is not happy with people. Allah does not accept people attributing to him a son. Which brings me to this other issue about the way people think. We as fathers, we work hard. And today we're dealing with a group of kids, our shabab growing up. They don't say thank you many of the times. And some of us take issue to that. The fact that your child doesn't say thank you, Abi, thank you, Ummi. Many of them are self-centered. What about the child? What about the child who, whatever you buy for him, what you build a house, you're paying rent, whatever you get for your child, you get him a car, and then your child turns around and says, Santa Claus gave me that thing. Somebody other than my father gave me that. Santa Claus gave me that. The mother is cooking, slaving in the house, working hard, making tadhiyah for all of her children all day, and she's pregnant. And then at the end of the day, the kids come and say, Santa Claus did all of this. This is one of the reasons why Allah doesn't accept shirk, because he created all of this, gave us life and everything, and then the person turns around and says, other than Allah did this, and Allah is angry with that. And Allah has ghaira, he has jealousy that anybody should worship someone along with Allah. So Ummat al-Islam, today's message is, in these next few days, don't respond back with anything but what Allah is pleased with. You figure out what's wise and what's acceptable to the person who says to you. I'm not going to be here and just give it to you. You figure it out. If I was in your position, someone said, Happy New Year's to thee, depending on the situation, I'm opening up the door to try to let them understand, you know where this New Year's is, you know where this vacation, where this holiday is from, and in most instances, they're not trying to hear that. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ونسأل الله تعالى التوفيق والسداد. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا وطيبا مباركا فيه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. What happened to the Christians and that they became polytheists and pagans is the same thing that has happened to our community, because we're going to follow the Jews and the Christians in everything that they did, and that people have introduced in Islam what is not from the religion. So I'm not here to jump up and to shout and to start screaming and sweating. Very easy. I'm going to say to all of you, we have to make jihad in this religion, not to fall into practicing the religion in a way that what happened to those people, kufr and shirk. Don't let your children watch movies where the theme has anything to do with Christmas. Your little kids, Sonic, Mufasa, These movies that come out at Christmas time with the Christmas theme, the Muslim who has aqeedah and iman, he doesn't allow his child to go watch one of those movies. He doesn't on Christmas Day turn on a channel and watch those cartoons that we grew up on talking about Christmas. We don't let our children watch that stuff because we pollute their heads. So we have a religious responsibility to take a position in these days of Christmas, and we have the ability to do it. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to assist us and to make it easy for us to be good examples and ambassadors for those people who don't believe, and bring into their attention the reality of their religion and the reality of what they are doing and what they believe in. We ask Allah to divinely protect our children while they live here and they grow up here, to make us as parents who are responsible and on top of the mas'uliyah that we're going to be asked about. May Allah Azza wa Jal help those Muslims there in Syria and in Palestine and in Kashmir and in China and in Iraq and the rest of the parts of the world where the Muslims are being given great punishment. He's our wali and he's qadir over that, and he's capable. Aqimus salah, yarhamakumullah.